On this episode of Peaking, I'm joined by Julia Enthoven, co-founder and CEO of Kapwing, the online video editing platform that started as a meme generator and has since become a go-to creative tool for millions. Julia shares how she made the leap from PM at Google to startup founder and what it's taken to scale a product in a fast-moving world of video, AI, and content creation. We talk about building in public, fundraising through rejection, hiring with conviction, and how using your own product every day can unlock the best ideas. If you're building something, thinking about raising money, or just interested in how AI is reshaping creative work, this one is for you. Let's dive in. Julia, welcome to Peaking.
Hi, Wyatt. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You are founder and CEO. It's not always I get to talk with a founder that's moved into CEO. It is very impressive that you've retained the CEO title as well as you grow, and I'm excited to talk about that. Or I'm actually very interested in your product. I think it could help the podcast quite a bit, and very interested to know more about it. So this will be as much a learning experience for me as a podcast.
When you reached out, it's always awesome to hear from people that are podcasters, because I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be kind of like a customer user interview for me, as well as like an opportunity to, get to share my story. Our whole mission is to empower creators. So I love to get to talk to creators like you. So thanks for having me on the show.
I don't know if I consider myself a creator yet. I feel like I'm so early, but I think it is. I think I have to be. If I'm putting content out, you are a creator. I think it's such a fun time in the creator economy. There's just like thousands of viewers per creator, and you feel like there's so much competition out there, and there is, but there's so many more people watching. There's so many more people taking in content. And
Totally.
Part of this podcast is getting information about businesses out there and kind of helping people to think about taking the jump. I think in corporate life, you're very muted. You don't want to put any opinions out there. You don't want to put your personal self out there. I want to share the journey of how people do it. And I think that's very interesting. And building content is an incredible way to do that. You're seeing so many business owners and founders build in public, and I think that's really cool. It seems like you guys are as well. Do you recruit yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do a lot of recruiting myself, but our hiring managers now do a lot of the recruiting for their own teams. We have really held like as sacred the idea of telling our own story along the way. My co-founder and I just always really believed in like keeping it real upfront. We benefited from other entrepreneurs who like helped us out and shared their experience in the early days. So yeah, storytelling is a major way we grow the company. It's a major way that we like dog food our own product and try it out. I also like love to give back to the community since we've benefited so much from it. So feeling grateful to all the, startup founders who've been telling their stories for a long time, and definitely something we want to do ourselves.
Let's start from the beginning. You have a pretty perfect profile or resume for founding a company. Started at Stanford, Google product manager, and now founder. Do you feel like that Silicon Valley environment just made for the perfect breeding ground? You think you were always meant to do something like this? How did you get to kind of this point where you're ready to found a company?
Definitely not. I wouldn't say that I was someone who was like a lifetime entrepreneur or always thought that I would start my own business. I was exploring basically like the next step down the path. Of course, in retrospect, it's easy to tell the story, to be like, oh yeah, here were like the little things along the way that were like hints that one day I would become an entrepreneur. One of those major hints is that my dad was a business owner. He was an entrepreneur. He started businesses in kind of like boring industries like used cars and electricity in Texas and things like that. But I always thought he was the smartest business person I knew. And I sort of got a front row seat as I was growing up to his experience, trying things in different markets, trying to build things from scratch. I think I got some of that muscle from him. And I think that, technology in essence is so creative. It's so much, even when you're working inside of a company, it's so much about like building things from scratch, like building things from 0 to 1. So at Google, I got good exposure to that. Also, even though I worked on really established products with like billions of users, I was still around a lot of entrepreneurial minded technologists who I was learning a lot from. My whole educational background and then like work experiences shaped me to become the founder I am now. But I wouldn't say that it was all leading to that path. Like it could have led somewhere else if if the cards hadn't fallen in this.
I actually have a similar experience. My dad was a small business owner, and I always felt like I learned so much from him on the business side and just like fundamental lessons that are going to be true across any business. But obviously, the software space is very different than the electrical, or what was the other one? Used cars. Which lessons from him are just tried and true, and you still look back on and you're like, I definitely learned that from dad.
I mean, so many. One major one is just he was someone who had self-doubt as a business owner. He wasn't sure what the right direction was always. And he sort of helped me see that like it was okay. In fact, it was better in a sense to be unsure of yourself as you started something new. Like I think he sort of embodied like no one knows everything. Everything out there was built by just a human being, just a person, just like you or me. And to kind of see yourself as like someone who's able to do hard things and start hard things and take a risk. My dad's always said to me, like the most competent people are often like the least confident, and the most confident people can be like the least competent, because if you have too much like arrogance and you're not open to learning and growing, then you have a blind eye towards lots of things. So I think he's always taught me about just like having a really open mind and just like an appetite for learning from different people, and always sort of like seeing how much more you have left to grow. And just like that growth mindset, I think is super important for sustainable engineering or a sustainable entrepreneurship path.
Yeah, there's so much content from these major founders or any business owners. Like failure is part of the process. Embrace it, and then you get to the business, the actual position of being in the founder seat or being in this entrepreneur seat, and you're just like, this is not fun at all. These failures, I'm supposed to enjoy this.
I know. But it's all part of the journey. You're still like growing every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into Kapwing. So is it true you started as a meme generator?
Yes, it is. So we started the business back in 2017. My co-founder and I, we were both product managers at Google and then software engineers by training. And so we built the first version of the product ourselves from scratch. All it did, like literally the only function it had, was that you could add text over like a video clip or an image or a GIF. And this was to serve that like those types of memes back in the day that were super popular on social media, where there was like text embedded essentially above a video. That was our very first product, and it immediately got like thousands of users because there was no other meme generator out there. If you wanted to make a video meme of that with that format, just like text embedded above the video, you had to like fire up Adobe Premiere, which like no one really knew how to use. And so Kapwing was really successful in sort of that first form of like casual creator format, essentially. And then after that, we built 12 different like one-off video tools. So just a tool just for resizing, just for trimming, just for adding subtitles. Like we were bootstrapping ourselves, just building these products and launching them one at a time. And by about like 6 months later, we had like 12 of these products and about like 7,000 users every month. And then we raised money from investors and went after what we saw as like the bigger problem there, which is that just video editing itself, like firing up Adobe Premiere, is really challenging, intimidating, and in a lot of ways kind of outdated because you have to use this offline software. So we set out to build a better video editor, but it all started with the Meme Maker. That was the very first product, the very first traction we got.
That's incredible. I mean, I have the same experience. I use Final Cut Pro. I bought this nice Apple computer, and I'm like, I'll include Final Cut Pro. I'm spending so much money already, but I'll throw it in. And I jump into it. I was like, this is hard. I don't know what I'm doing here. And I like flying drones over landscapes. Like, yeah, I'm going to make a cool, videos with all the drone compilations I've put together from all the places I've been. And I've never done it. I just have like so many gigabytes of drone footage, 4K, just beautiful landscapes from all over the world. I haven't traveled that much, but from parts of the world. And it's just, I'm not doing anything with it. And then with the podcast, obviously I'm using Riverside. Well, maybe that's not obvious, but there's this basically like podcast platform, and they put all that in there for you as well. And so, I mean, in any entrepreneurial venture, you have to wear a lot of hats, but it's hard to be good at all of them. So, taking that aspect away and just making it easy for someone to do, that's always going to be a great place to start, at least. Were you building these while working at Google, or did you just cut the cord? I'm going to build this. Give yourself some runway.
So I left in July, and we had done like a 1 month project together before I left Google that kind of validated, I think, Eric and I working together, sort of like our working styles. And I would always say to any other entrepreneur, like the number one thing that is important in a startup journey is making sure you're working with the right people, because those are the people that will have the most impact on the business and also just your own success and happiness and learning along the way. So yeah, we worked on a startup project together. I left Google, but our plan, like why I left Google, the idea I was excited about was something totally different than Kapwing. It was this other business. I've written about it on our blog that totally failed. We couldn't really build any traction or get any traction. We realized that it would be we'd have to build for a long time before we could get a customer. And so we decided to shut that business down about 2.5 months after I left Google. So yeah, we were burning through our own savings, living in San Francisco, one of the most expensive cities in the world, like trying to just get by basically so that we could not have to go back to work. We gave ourselves basically till the end of that year, until December, to sort of build something that was big enough that we felt confident not going back to tech jobs, essentially. In September, that was when we started working on Kapwing, like started working on the very first version of it. And by December, we were making about $2,000 in a month. And that was not nearly enough to pay rent in San Francisco, but it was enough to give me confidence that at least I would kick the can another 6 months down the road and see where it went. 6 months later, we'd raised, almost $2 million in our seed round, and we were able to hire people for the first time and really try and take the business, to its full potential.
That's, 2 months. That's incredible. You were able to make that decision that early. I think there is a tendency for people to want to build product before customers because they think there's a need, but that's a dangerous game. You definitely want the customer before the 1 year of effort goes into it. It doesn't always work out that way with certain, like obviously hardware products are a lot harder for that to work. But so that was kind of the pivotal moment when you realized it could be more than a niche tool. How did that early raising go? How was the raising experience for you? Was there just a lot from your close network? Did you go to VCs? What was that journey like?
So it was, in the moment, it was very difficult. And one reason why it was difficult is just there is so much rejection. And I wasn't prepared maybe for that because I'd never done like a sales role or a recruiting role. I think that in fundraising, you have to just know that at least 80% of people you talk to are not going to believe in you. And that would be an amazing hit rate, like a 20% hit rate. I think it was really hard. It was also difficult because there's a lot of information asymmetry. I was learning so much as I went, even just the vocabulary of how to talk about the like valuation cap and how much you were raising and, what you need, these things that now I have a much better, stronger sense of how to discuss those things from a position, from a position of power. Back then I was like really lost and really didn't know, how to talk about them. All I knew really how to talk about was the business and where it was going and how fast it was growing. And that was fortunately enough for us to raise about $2 million in our seed round from Kleiner Perkins and a handful of other investors. You asked about did you talk mostly to people in your network? Yes, the answer to that is I basically made a list in Google Sheets of every person I knew who had any kind of connection to venture capital. So there were some business owners, some investment banker people. And I reached out to all of them and just asked them if we could get coffee and chat about the business. And then those people introduced me to investors that they knew so that I could chat with them and have a conversation about the seed round. The whole process for us took about 6 weeks, I would say, from our very first conversation to closing the seed round.
Wow. Is that typical, do you think, in other chats you've had with founders?
I think our process was quite atypical in a sense because for various reasons, but I think for a lot of people, they want it to have a really tight time frame and just raise in a really, but in actuality, it ends up taking a lot longer because you sort of start talking to people and then you're not running a formal process until months later. And then all of a sudden you're running a formal process and then maybe it goes through or maybe it doesn't. So I definitely know many people, including really successful founders who've gone on to raise a lot of money, who it took a lot longer for them to raise their seed round. Another difference for us was we didn't raise any money at all until we raised millions of dollars from VCs. And that's also quite unusual because we were sort of totally bootstrapping out of our own savings. So yeah, I think there were a few things that made it unusual, but overall, every fundraising story is different, just like every sales story is different. So yeah.
Last on raising, did you find that the contract negotiation, I'm seeing a lot of content about signing away more than you expected or not knowing what you did you find that you were adequately educated on how to do that, how to negotiate what they were offering and versus what you were giving up?
No, definitely was not educated on that. And investors are professional negotiators. They are very good at emotional manipulation in the final stages. And that's not to say we are working with extremely kind, wonderful people, but it is really hard to know, how do you sort of come at it in a way that feels fair to both sides at the time. Now I wish that I had realized how much leverage I had, especially at the Series A, which came about a year after the seed round. I mean, Kapwing was growing absolutely like a weed. It was taking off. And I think that we could have raised, even more money at an even higher valuation. But, I'm so grateful for what we did raise, the partners that we have at the table now. And in a sense, it went really fast, and that was ideal because I don't really love the fundraising process. I wanted to get back to building the business.
Yeah, balancing that, I imagine, is not easy, talking to all these different people while you're also trying to build product. At what point did you, or are you still building? Are you still doing the engineering work, or are you just completely company building?
I'm not coding anymore. In the beginning, I was coding all day, every day. Now I'm spending all my time on product and on company building. We are building a new product right now that I'm really excited about. So I spent more time in product and engineering recently than I do normally. But most of the time I'm focused on, recruiting, company building, strategy, go-to-market, things like that.
And the product, how did you decide that this was the direction you wanted to go? Were you always interested in content? Were you always interested in video storytelling? Or did you just see an area of opportunity that wasn't being taken?
So there were many reasons why we decided to build Kapwing. One is that my co-founder went to middle school with Dylan Field, who's the co-founder and CEO at Figma. And Figma is a online design software system. It's where you can work together from the browser on designs in real time. So you can all be looking at the same version at once. And Figma has really taken over the design space. It's a huge company in business now. And one reason for that is that Dylan really saw the power of the web early on. And because he and Eric, my co-founder, are friends, childhood friends, we wanted to apply that same kind of insight to video. How do you enable people to create video together in real time so that you can all be looking at the latest draft, leaving comments and collaborating on video versions as you are building a video. So that was one major insight that we always kind of had in the back of our heads. And back in 2017, 2018, that was really very fast growth years for Figma. So we were thinking about that too. I would say the second thing is that video editing, I was not a video creator myself. And the reason I wasn't back in the day, although I love to write and always have been a journalist, is that it's intimidating to get started. Even just getting the software, downloading it, learning it was really scared me off basically from participating with that medium. And meanwhile, video was just completely taking over. It was becoming essential for starting businesses and for educating kids and for growing communities online, participating in online conversations, running for office. We wanted to I felt like this medium was becoming more and more relevant and still was very difficult to make. So basically we built Kapwing because we saw an opportunity with the web and with cloud, and also because we had this deep product pain ourselves that we experienced that we wanted to address. So that was how we got to the idea.
How early in this product building did you start using your own product?
Really early on. So even before we built the video editor in 2018, back in that one-off days, we were making videos about how to use our one-off tools, how to use the meme maker, how to use our video resizer and publishing them on YouTube. We had an intuition from very early on that YouTube is the place where people first learn to edit video. And so we wanted to be there, we wanted to be on YouTube. And it wasn't really until kind of 2019, 2020 when the pandemic hit and video, just YouTube and TikTok and stuff were just exploding that we started investing in video content as a business. Even, in those very early days, 2019, we were using Kapwing to make videos.
That's such a cheat code to be a user of your own product. I think often advice you hear, I don't know that I've no personal stories of people failing because they don't talk to users enough, but uh, a lot of advice is you need to be talking to users at all times. So if you're you're the user yourself, obviously you would understand it more than like a new user. And so you might not see the initial problems that people have with the product, but you can definitely see where it works and where it doesn't and where it struggles. What are the biggest takeaways from your own experience using your product?
I think it gave us a lot of insights into things that people were actually trying to do on social media to grow their businesses early before other people had those kind of features. For example, in the early days, you couldn't even make a vertical video on iMovie. Like in 2018, you could not make like a 9:16 video in iMovie. And obviously we were, using these products and like we knew that people were trying to make vertical videos because we were trying to make them ourselves for TikTok, basically. And so we were like, we're going to build a video resizer. Then you can make stuff so much easier for Instagram stories and for TikTok. So I think like using our own product led us to a lot of those insights. Same thing with captions and subtitles. Like we built in auto captioning really early on, way before Premiere had it, like years later, and lots of other things like that. I would say like transitions and animations and stuff, like things that were trending on TikTok and on Instagram Reels eventually that existed on Kapwing early on. So yeah, I think that those are some examples of like features that we knew people needed because we were using the product.
Why are captions so effective? Like, do people want to read while they're watching, or do some people just watch without volume on? Every single video has captions.
So I think it used to be because people watch without volume on. Now I think people are more likely to watch with volume on, but I think the reason captions are so effective is people want things to constantly be like engaging and stimulating them on screen. So they want to see moving things, like see animations. Not every creator uses captions, but like effective creators are using B-roll or using transitions or like zoom cuts to just keep things moving on screen so that, like people are never like watching the screen for like 10 seconds without like something jumping. So I think captions are really easy, cheap way to do that, where like you can have cool like animations and jumping captions and words that are just, reiterating what you're saying.
Did you get all these virality lessons from just watching creators and seeing which, the most successful ones were doing already with, the traditional software?
I would say most of our like virality that we've had in-house on our own YouTube channel and TikTok channel and stuff is from having amazing creators that work for Kapwing, think of really good ideas and then execute on them. So we're like watching what's doing well on social and trying to emulate some of those tactics in our own on our own social. So I think that as a business, what we've done right there is hiring people who have had successful YouTube channels or podcasts in the past and now are looking for full-time work. And those people already have that intuition for like what things are shareable, what things are like have a hook, like what things look good and things like that. So hiring those people in-house has led us to really great virality and helped us to tell our own story online while also growing through search and through SEO and stuff like that.
I think what I was thinking about is like, what tools do you decide to build and how you got to those decisions? But it sounds like it would be a similar answer, just using the product and knowing what works and kind of working together to decide what features you're going to build. You talked about oh, go ahead.
I think we spent, basically 2.5 years right in the middle, like from 2020 to 2022-ish, just building out core video editing features, just all the things you need to like make rough cut video. And like AI sped up generative AI development and shook up our roadmap again. And it helped us to sort of think about like, okay, how is AI going to change the future of how people create too? So a lot of the new features, automations that we built in, leverage some of these new generative technologies and LLMs also.
How have you found those current day in terms of effectiveness and being true to what the brand is trying to achieve in terms of like those auto clips? Riverside has that feature where you can pull out a clip. They pull out the clip for you and they're like, this is a clip you'd likely like. In my experience, they're kind of hit or miss. They're definitely not all great clips, and there's better clips in the full content that I would have chosen if I could go over it with a fine-tooth comb and spend a few hours on it. How do you see those current state, and do you think, or have you seen significant improvement since they started?
I mean, we've definitely seen significant improvement in the models. So a few things. One is like AI can be really helpful just for automation. So just if you just need a transcript of your video, or you need to overlay captions in your video, or you need to translate a video from one language to another, these are workflows that Kapwing serves really well. There's less maybe like judgment involved in, there's some judgment, how do you spell like Wyatt, like for example, or your last name Carr, but there's less judgment than there is with all sorts of like of those subjective, like, oh, which of these is like the highlight or the best clip, things like that. AI is definitely helping with the automation phase today for Kapwing and for Kapwing's users. And we have 21 different AI powered workflows, things like cleaning out the background noise, or like enhancing the foreground voice, or removing the background from a video, things like that, that rely on AI vendors. On the other side, I would say the like more kind of like generative side, I guess I would say, where it's pulling something a little more subjective. I think that the technology is so powerful in this space, but the clip finders are not leveraging that technology, I think, to its greatest potential. The new product that we're working on, which is called K2, and is in basically private beta right now, is a fully conversational video editor. So you can actually you can ask for like either specific highlights, or like you can make a long form video by combining all of your video clips together. You can basically use the transcript of the video and this conversational interface to edit and to sort of like find the story in your video. And I think that as the models get better and better, that technology is going to just become more and more powerful and more like the default way that people edit.
That sounds awesome, because I think nearly every podcast, aside from maybe the biggest ones, will do an intro and they like have clips of the best parts of the podcast in the beginning. But you need a producer or editor to put that together. And, solo podcasters or people that are doing it on the side, it's a lot of time to put into that. And I'd like to do that. Like, I like filming. I just started filming intros, like what we talk about, and then I'll post a clip separately that links to the episode. But like that catch, you have to take some time to make.
And
does that sound like the end result of how someone could use that product?
Yeah, totally. Like the K2 is great for basically like, okay, find a snappy intro from this podcast clip and like put that at the beginning, to start the episode or something like that.
That's awesome. So if someone is starting to create, run me through all the tech and tools they need in their tech stack.
So yeah, we have with Kapwing, grown our YouTube community from basically 0 to 200,000 subscribers. And it's a major way that we grow our business. The tech stack that we use starts with SEO. So it starts with understanding like, what are people looking for on the internet? What do people look for when they are trying to understand how to edit videos for the first time? And I think that first tool there is your SEO stack. So we use SEMrush, which is a like keyword finding and keyword research tool. You can also use Google Trends to sort of do some basic keyword research that's free. The second stage for us after we have a topic is we write the script, or Gemini or Claude are really useful for writing and refining your script. You can, help to sort of get past writer's block, fill the blank canvas, and then do all the tweaking on your own to make sure the script sounds authentic to your topic and that you've added some original journalism in. Third is the recording phase. So now you have your script, you need to record a video. I would recommend some kind of like nice studio setup where you feel comfortable and you feel like you look and sound good. It doesn't have to be that professional. I think Riverside is a great place for this. Some people use like Streamlabs for recording, depending on whether they're doing interview styles or just recording talking head. And you can record yourself on your phone. Obviously, back camera like looks better than the front camera often. And then you have your actual recording done. And then the last phase is the editing phase. So Kapwing is obviously a super useful tool for editing. We're working on this K2 product, which we're looking for, new beta testers of if you want to get involved. But this stage is where you add captions, you make the video look good for social, and then you publish. So that's basically our tech stack today within our content team that we use to grow an audience on YouTube and on social media.
So is most of your customer growth SEO, or you think just YouTube? People search, I guess SEO would be YouTube too. People search video editing and you want your video to go up top. How's your customer acquisition kind of broken down?
So we acquire customers basically 100% organically today. Most of our customers come to us through Google search, and some come through our YouTube channel, our YouTube community. at the peak of our YouTube channel, we were acquiring about 15% of our overall customers through YouTube. And we knew that because people would tell us how they originally found Kapwing when they signed up for their Kapwing account. So yeah, we saw like 15% or so were coming from YouTube. You know, there's both the people, there's our first party content. There's also other people like who make reviews of Kapwing or affiliates who make videos promoting Kapwing on YouTube. So there's lots of different YouTube sources, but that gives you a sense of how big like YouTube is as a part of our funnel.
I mean, that's part of Google too. Do you get a discount for being a previous Google employee?
I mean, it doesn't cost anything to rank on Google. You just have to have a great resource. But I do think that the major benefit of being a Google employee was just that we knew about how powerful search is. Like we knew about SEO and kind of the power of SEO from the early days. But I don't think that there's any lessons from working at Google that we like brought into executing our own SEO strategy.
What do people not know about SEO that they should?
I mean, very few people know about SEO, which is shocking to me. I'm super passionate about it, so I could go on for days. But I would say one thing that people don't know about SEO is that it's changing a huge amount with ChatGPT. As people are searching on LLMs more, SEO is really morphing and changing. I've actually just started a new personal YouTube channel and personal blog about this topic, which I'm calling GEO, or Generative Engine Optimization, because I think that LLMs promote or recommend really different products than Google recommends. And when you are a marketer thinking about like, how do we get people to find us organically, you need to be thinking about how does my SEO strategy informed by search behavior, like shifting towards chatbots like ChatGPT. So yeah, that's not really a tactic, but it is something that I think is really interesting and is changing the industry a lot right now.
Have you trademarked GEO yet? Is that
No, someone else asked me that actually. No, I have not. I wish I could, but I don't think it's available.
I mean, that makes a ton of sense, and it's got to depend on what model you're using too. How does one optimize for GEO?
I mean, we're learning about it a lot too. Like no one really knows the answer to that yet. But I would say it's quite similar to SEO with a few key differences. I think that getting people to talk about your product on their website is really important now. Like it's been always important, but I think before it was really about just getting backlinks, and now it's more about like how do you get people to talk about your website, you know, include more like words and like include a review about what your product is or what it does, and in addition to having that link. So I think that's one difference between GEO and SEO is it's going to make it more about sort of getting content on other people's websites, not just getting links from other websites.
So people reviewing your product on their website.
Exactly.
How about building communities like Reddit, or Facebook groups are ever queried, YouTube community? Are there other communities?
LinkedIn.
It seems like LinkedIn. It seems like they query a lot from Reddit, the generative, at least GPT.
Yeah, it does. Also, actually, Google does too. Like Reddit has soared in Google search results in the last few years. So I think that getting people to talk about your product on Reddit is one way of sort of like getting people to talk about your product on a community on another website. So right now it seems like Reddit is a really important place for just, for organic conversations about products and services.
I might have to make a Peking podcast community on it.
You don't even have to make a Peking podcast community, but you can try to join in things like small YouTubers or podcasters or video editors. Like these are subreddits that exist that you can join in the conversation of and sort of like find ways to also kind of like mention your own podcast there, mention Peking there.
Yeah, that's useful. Core beliefs. Talk about 5 core beliefs you have about your product building, company building, or content creation.
I think that's interesting. Okay, core beliefs. So one core belief is that quality is less important than quantity. Like if you want to be good at something, you just need to do it a lot. You need a lot of reps, and that will make you better. That has been validated inside of Kapwing so many times over. One of our core values is done is better than perfect, which I think is a similar belief as like quality is less important than quantity. Third is, I think sharing your perspective is crucial no matter what business you're in. For us, we have shared our perspective on new creator trends as they're happening. And we sometimes write about things that totally flop and go nowhere just because we think that they're interesting. And we believe in like sharing our story and telling our story as just, a path to growth in sort of like a fundamental way rather than, always just using it as a growth hack. Fourth is I think real insight is better than AI generated insight. So I think is a great tool for like brainstorming, but it does not take over like true journalism, going in depth, doing like original research and studying, trying to get data or just like share your own perspective and your own story. This new tool, K2, that we're building is a tool that helps like journalists and people who are recording their own footage to edit, real insights rather than just generating insights for you that are fake or hallucinated. So yeah, I think that that's going to be true in 5 years as well. In 50 years, real human experience is better than AI generated text. And yeah, I guess maybe let's see, is that 5? Wait, 1, 2, 3, that's 4. I guess maybe a 5 principle that I've always held true is that the most important thing is to see every conversation as an opportunity for learning and for growth rather than as an opportunity to be right. So when people disagree with you or you meet someone who has a really contrarian opinion, just trying to learn about like, why do they have that opinion? Like, I think seeing it as like, wow, this is like fascinating and I want to learn from like about how you even got there will open your eyes to so many new experiences. And people who are committed to being right, I think is basically a red flag. It's going to make you unhappy and it's not going to get you as far in your life. And I think.
That one's tough for a lot of people. Any examples or anecdotes that from your experience that you could speak to there?
One example of this is back in the day, like very early days of Kapwing, I had an idea, which was that what if we like tried to chalk the name of the company across the sidewalks of San Francisco? This was something we used to do in college. Like if you were like having a party, you'd like take chalk and like write, the date and the location of the party on the sidewalks. And the reason I wanted to do that was not just because I wanted people to like know about Kapwing, but because I thought it might earn us backlinks, which would help our website to rank on search. And my co-founder was totally against this idea. He was like, after like, we finished like a long day of work, like I'm not going to wait till like 11 p.m. and go out like a kid and like, draw on the sidewalks. And I was like, yeah, maybe some bloggers would write about it, or maybe like the SF Chronicle would write about it or something. And if those people wrote about it, like they would give us backlinks, our website would rank, whatnot. And the end of the story is that Eric was totally right. We put like our logo in sort of like 5 or 6 really prominent locations. No one wrote about it. Almost no one saw these logos because the street cleaners had cleaned them off, most of them off before the morning anyway. And it was a totally fruitless exercise in like SEO and like content marketing, I guess. But I think that like it did lead to a tremendous amount of learning, like for me and maybe for him too, to an extent where I think like I kind of learned more about like how to create link worthy content that people will link to, not just do a stunt, but like try to create some piece of content that then is on your website that people will link to. So that's just like one kind of silly example, but I often talk about that as just like, oh, this was a mistake we made. It's something we did. And, was it like bad? Like, no, it was like kind of a fun night in the end. Like we sort of bonded as co-founders and, I feel a little guilty about it because of the street cleaners cleaning it off. But other than that, like it was really no harm, no foul. So yeah, I think that's just like one example of like something I learned from that had absolutely no impact on the business.
That's a fun one. I also really like done is better than perfect. I think that is probably so crucial in building product. You're just going to waste so much time trying to get to perfection when you could be building on, the next product or just improving on the current variation. What are your favorite resources to staying up to date in video marketing or AI? And which do you like about each one or those specific creators?
I love hearing other people talk about this topic. So I'm glad you asked me. I'm always looking for new resources. Some resources I listen to or read are the Hard Fork podcast, which is the New York Times tech podcast. I listen to every week. It's hilarious and helps me to stay up to date on what's happening in AI. Matt Navarro on Threads, I have followed him for years. I think he is an amazing person to follow for just updates on what's happening in digital media and in video and social media generally. Justine Moore is which is the Venture Twins, Justine and Olivia Moore. They are awesome investors. They were investors in Kapwing, and they have a great account on X where they talk about AI trends and sort of new media, new products that are in AI and creative software. I also have recently joined the Bay Area Creators Economy newsletter, which is basically a community and a newsletter here in San Francisco for creators. And I love it. I think that the people that run it, France and John Lauterbach and others, are amazing and highly recommend checking it out if you are in SF. Hacker News, obviously, if you work in tech, because everyone in tech follows Hacker News, it's the Y Combinator forum, and it's a great place to have conversations about what's happening in tech and to share your own demos if you have new like web product. I also have started following En Wang in the last year. She is an amazing creator. She's also a friend of mine, and she makes videos on the creative process and just how to get started with being a creator, things like, how to film in public and how to like write scripts and all sorts of interesting things like that. And yeah, obviously I would mention at the end here, just following Kapwing too. We talk all about how to get started with video editing, new video editing techniques and trends, and how to use AI in your video creation process. So follow us if you want to learn more about that.
Awesome. Yeah, I will link all those in the description as well. I think that'll make for a good clip too. I am a talent guy. I've been hiring people in mostly tech for the last 10 years. Very interested in what makes a strong hire at each company. It's always different. Incredible hire at one company might not be at all what someone will consider at another. Tell me about a hire that you've made at Kapwing who's blown away your expectations, and what were those characteristics that made them a strong hire and culture fit for you?
Sure. So we've had so many great Kapwingers, and it's hard to pick one. One person who comes to mind is our first YouTube video content creator who we hired in-house, whose name is Grace Windheim. She started our YouTube channel as a college marketing intern. She, between her junior and senior year, came to work at Kapwing, and she grew our YouTube channel from about 100 to about 1,000 subscribers over the course of the summer. Which is a lot of work for people who are YouTubers, and she really put in a lot of muscle to make that happen. Really what she did there was embracing done is better than perfect ethos. She published so many videos on our channel, so really helping to like gain insight on what works, what doesn't work, what topics are good to go after, etc. And also refining her own skills as a creator that would serve her when she came back to Kapwing full time after she graduated and grew our channel over the course of about 14 months to 100,000 subscribers, mostly by covering video trends and sort of like video challenges during the pandemic. Some reasons I loved working with Grace and think she's an amazing operator and marketer are she really has both kind of like like both sides of her brain, like the right and the left side. Like she can be very analytical and strategic, but she's also very like creative and has like strong intuition about like what topics are interesting or how to add, original insight or how to make something beautiful. She also was a like very scrappy executor. She had that entrepreneurial intuition around, does have the entrepreneurial intuition around how do you take something from 0 to 1? Like how do you make a plan and then bring it into reality? So those two things I think really embody the Kapwing ethos. And, maybe the third is just, I think she's a great journalist, really embodies like telling your own story and is a huge advocate for creators, trying to make our product better and share it with more people so that they get value from it.
That's awesome. For the summer that she did 100 to 1,000, do you know how many videos y'all put out over all the different channels?
I think that the number was about like between 50 and 60 videos, which is, basically like 2 or 3 videos a week. I remember that it took her 2 weeks or so to publish her very first video. And I told her that, or maybe it took her 10 days. And I told her like, Grace, I need you to go from publishing 1 video in 10 days to publishing 10 videos in 1 day. How could you get to 10 videos in 1 day? So she really shifted her production process, obviously, to rise to that challenge. And yeah, I think that she really learned a ton in that process of making videos.
How did you know that was the right strategy at that point?
Quantity is more important than quality. I just knew that. I've always had this just base feeling that like the way you learn anything is by just doing it many, many times and getting feedback. So YouTube gives you so much feedback. Like you get to see how videos do and stuff like that. So I was just like, put out more videos and you will learn how to make better ones.
And it's just the personal, in the seat, looking at how they perform and deciding what was in that video that made it succeed? Or how does that analysis work?
I don't have any tricks there. I think mostly on YouTube, it's very easy to see the titles. Like we had a spreadsheet where we had the titles of every video and how many like views each one got and then how many like clicks, did that bring to our website. So I think that helped us to understand which pages were performing the best over time. And one of the things we notice, obviously every creator knows this, but short form videos, like things that go viral, are different than like evergreen videos that do well over time. And evergreen has been a huge part of our YouTube growth. We have like videos about just basic topics that have done well over time. So you need a few months before you can like really do that analysis to really get the full scope of how much impact a video is having.
You've said that success is about stretching yourself but maintaining balance. Looking ahead, what's an ambitious goal you're chasing to redefine what peaking means for you and Kapwing in the next few years?
Well, we are getting ready to launch this new K2 product, which I'm really excited about. And I am working on a go-to-market plan for. We are looking to do user interviews right now with creators and with editors. So I think that this product really leverages AI to its fullest potential, we believe. And I think it has the potential to totally change our business too. So I feel like we're stretching and building it and also in getting ready to launch it. So very open to talking to people who have thoughts about, what does ChatGPT for video look like, and how can we support people who want to edit just like they chat with ChatGPT.
Under the shelf there, how does that work as the models improve? Is it easy to just plug in the new model and the product improves?
Yep, it's model agnostic. So new models, you can just plug in and try them out. You can also try any model you want to. So if you have a preference for one kind of model, like if you want to use Claude, you can use that inside of K2. And yeah, we expect the models to keep improving over time. And I think that they're already good enough that that it'll pack a lot of value for creators in this launch.
Anything else you wanted to cover or talk about?
No, I mean, I really appreciate your hosting us on this podcast, and hope that this video inspires some people to get started with telling their own story, their business story with video, and trying out Kapwing.
Awesome. Yeah, this podcast is generally about company building and maybe building the courage to try to build something. But even if you're you just have a hobby, you can still be a creator within that hobby. You absolutely don't have to do something professionally to be a creator in that area. So, super cool idea. Very sounds like solid execution, and looking forward to trying it out and following your journey. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks, Wyatt.
Awesome.
Bye.